Close your eyes and imagine this. You're strapped into a roaring plane, soaring 30,000 feet above the earth. When your own sister, the one person who's supposed to have your back, humiliates you in front of hundreds of strangers. Her words cut deep like a knife twisted with a smile. That's where my story starts, and let me tell you, it's a wild ride of betrayal, suspense, and a truth so shocking it left an entire plane speechless. My name is Sarah, and this is how one flight turned my sister's mockery into a moment of justice that no one saw coming. Buckle up, because this tale is about to take off, and it's going to grip you tight. It all began a few weeks ago when our family planned a big reunion in California. Mom and Dad were thrilled, dreaming of hugs and old stories. My sister Emily, 2 years older, was coming with her husband Mark. And me? I was tagging along, a former Air Force fighter pilot now working as a flight instructor. Sounds pretty cool, right? But to Emily, I was just her clumsy little sister who never measured up. Growing up, she was the golden child. Perfect grades, perfect friends, perfect everything. I was the dreamer, always sketching planes or staring at the sky. Our parents loved us both, but Emily's spotlight always seemed to leave me in the shadows. That morning at the airport, the place was buzzing, kids running, suitcases rolling, the smell of stale coffee in the air. We checked in, shuffled through security, and boarded a massive jet packed with over 300 passengers. I ended up next to Emily in economy, Mark on her other side, with Mom and Dad a few rows ahead. I tried to keep things light. "Hey, Em, this trip's gonna be fun, right?" "Like old times," I said, hoping for a smile. She glanced up from her phone, her nails clicking on the screen. "Sure, Sarah, as long as you don't mess it up like usual." Her tone was teasing, but it stung like a slap. Mess it up? She was talking about silly kid stuff, like the time I tripped at a family picnic. I forced a laugh, but it hurt. The plane's engines revved, and the captain's voice crackled. "Welcome to Flight 482 to Los Angeles. We'll be cruising at 35,000 feet. Sit back and enjoy." As we shot down the runway, the ground blurring below, I felt the lift of takeoff, but also a sinking feeling inside. Emily leaned in, her voice low but sharp. "You know, Sarah, I still can't believe you were a fighter pilot." "I mean, really? You flying jets? Sounds like you were just playing pretend." Her words hit hard, and I froze. Why was she doing this? People nearby glanced over, smirking. My cheeks burned. That's not fair," I whispered. "I flew real missions, saved lives," she rolled her eyes. "Oh, come on. Mom and Dad eat up your hero act, but let's be real. You're just a teacher now, showing kids how to fly little planes." Anger flared in my chest, hot and tight. Betrayal from a stranger is bad enough, but from your sister? It's like a punch you don't see coming. I stared out the window, clouds stretching endlessly, trying to swallow the pain. But something told me this flight wasn't going to be smooth. A tiny shake ran through the plane, barely noticeable. Turbulence? Or something more? Emily's betrayal had lit a fuse, and the explosion was coming. Stay with me, this is just the start. As the plane settled into its cruise, with Emily's cruel words still echoing, my mind drifted back to the past. The years of small fights and big hurts that built this wall between us. Up here in the sky, with the world so far below, everything feels heavier, especially family pain. Let's go back to where it all began, so you can see why her betrayal cut so deep, and how it set the stage for a drama that would shake us all. The suspense is building, and trust me, what's coming will keep you glued. We grew up in a small Texas town, in a house full of noise, laughter, arguments, the clatter of Mom's cooking. Emily was always the star. She got straight A's, led the school plays, and had friends who followed her like she was royalty. I was quieter, always tinkering with model planes or sneaking off to the local airstrip to watch takeoffs. Mom, a school teacher, loved Emily's report cards. Dad, a mechanic, bonded with me over tools and engines. But Emily's wins always got the loudest cheers. "Why can't you be more like her?" they'd say when I forgot homework. It wasn't mean, but it stuck. As teens, the gap grew. Emily was prom queen, dated the football star, and got into a top college. I struggled in class, my mind always on flying. I'd bike to the airport, watching planes soar, dreaming of being up there. When I got caught skipping school for it, Emily ratted me out. "She's just lazy," she told Mom. Lazy? I was chasing something bigger. At 17, I announced I was joining the Air Force to become a pilot. Emily laughed in my face. "You? Flying jets? You'll crash and burn, Sarah." But I didn't. The Air Force was tough, grueling drills, endless studying, pushing my body to the limit. Flight school was even harder. I learned to fly jets that screamed through the sky, handling turns that crushed your chest. My first solo flight? Heart-pounding. The world fell away, just me in the sky. I flew missions, escorting planes, dodging threats, saving my team more than once. One night, my jet's engine flickered. I stayed calm, landed safe. Those moments made me strong. But when I came home, Emily brushed it off. "So you flew some planes." "Big whoop," she'd say at dinner, then talk about her fancy job. Her life was picture perfect. Degree, career, marriage to Mark, a lawyer with a big house. I left the Air Force after 8 years and started teaching flying. I loved it, but Emily called it playing with toys. At family gatherings, she'd steer the talk to her success, leaving me out. "When are you going to do something real?" she'd ask. On the plane, those memories hit like waves. The attendants handed out snacks, crunchy pretzels, fizzy soda. Emily grabbed some, then turned to me. "Want any pilot?" she said, her voice dripping with sarcasm. I shook my head, staring at the clouds outside. The plane shook again, a little stronger. "Just turbulence, right?" But my gut said no. As a pilot, you feel things, vibrations, sounds. The engines sounded off like a song missing a note. Emily noticed my frown. "What, scared already?" "Some hero you are." Her laugh was sharp and Mark smirked. Our parents waved from ahead, clueless. The betrayal burned, but something bigger was brewing. What was that vibration? The suspense was thickening, pulling us. With those old hurts swirling in my head, the flight rolled on, and the calm of the cabin started to crack. Emily's jabs had left me raw, but now something else was wrong. A feeling in the air, a hum that wasn't right. This part of the story dives into the growing tension, where betrayal and danger start to tangle. You'll feel the suspense climb, the emotions twist, as Sarah's strength faces its first test. The plane's about to shake things up, and so is the truth. The cabin lights dimmed, signaling the rest phase. People pulled blankets over themselves, screens glowing with movies. Emily was wide awake, scrolling her phone, posting about the trip. "Look at us flying high," she muttered, showing off a selfie. Then she leaned in. "You should post too, Sarah. Oh wait, pilots don't do that, right?" Her air quotes stabbed at me. I ignored her, my ears locked on the plane. That vibration was back, steady now, like a heartbeat out of rhythm. In my training, that could mean trouble, maybe hydraulics, maybe worse. I closed my eyes, picturing my old cockpit simulators. Engine anomaly. Assess, adjust, land. Easy in practice, brutal in real life. Opening my eyes, I saw Emily watching. "What's with you? Daydreaming again?" she whispered, loud enough for the guy next to us to glance over. "Just thinking," I said, keeping it cool. She snorted. "About what? Your big hero days?" The word hero dripped with mockery. Betrayal doesn't always shout. Sometimes it's a quiet knife. The plane dipped suddenly, cups rattling on trays. A few passengers gasped. The captain's voice came on. "Folks, just a bit of turbulence. Stay seated, please." But it wasn't just turbulence. I knew the difference. Years of flying taught me that. The engines whined, a pitch off. I sat up straighter, scanning the cabin. People were nervous now, shifting in their seats. Emily noticed. "Oh great, you're freaking out." "Relax, Sarah, the real pilots have this," anger sparked in me. I'm a real pilot," I said, voice low but firm. She rolled her eyes. "Sure, whatever." Mark stirred, half asleep. "What's up?" he mumbled. "Sarah's playing captain," she said, laughing. The guy across the aisle looked away, embarrassed for me. My heart pounded, not just from her words, but from that vibration. It was getting worse. I unbuckled and headed to the galley where the flight attendants were whispering. "Hi, I'm Sarah, former fighter pilot," I said quietly. "Is everything okay?" One attendant, Lisa, hesitated. "We're fine, but..." "There's a warning light in the cockpit." My stomach dropped. Warning lights aren't good, especially not hydraulics. "Can I talk to the captain?" I asked. Lisa nodded, leading me forward. As I walked, Emily's voice followed. "What are you doing?" "Don't embarrass us." Her betrayal was peaking, doubting me when I might be needed most. In the cockpit, the captain, a guy named Tom, looked stressed. "Hydraulic issue," he said. "We're handling it." I nodded. "I've dealt with this in jets. I can help if you need me." He gave me a quick look, then a nod. Back in my seat, Emily glared. "What was that about?" I took a deep breath. "Something's wrong with the plane, Em." Her face paled, but she scoffed. "You're overreacting." The plane shook again, harder. Lights flickered. People gasped louder. The suspense was electric now. What was happening? Was I right, or was I just paranoid? Emily's betrayal had lit a fire in me, but the real test was coming. The truth was about to break free, and it would shock everyone. Hold on tight, this is where things get wild. The tension in the cabin was now a living thing, wrapping around us as the plane's shakes grew worse. Emily's betrayal had pushed me to my limit, but now, with danger closing in, her mocking words were about to crumble. This is where the story hits its breaking point, where hurt turns to fear, and Sarah's hidden strength starts to shine. You'll feel the panic, the anger, the suspense as everything hangs in the balance. The plane's fighting, and so am I. A violent lurch rocked the plane, trays clattering, bags shifting. Screams filled the air. The captain's voice, sharp now. "Folks, we've got a hydraulic problem. We're diverting for an emergency landing. Stay calm and buckle up." Calm? The cabin was chaos. People crying, holding hands, whispering prayers. Emily grabbed my arm, her nails digging in. "Sarah, what's happening?" Her voice shook, the sarcasm gone. Fear had taken over. "Hydraulics control the plane's flaps and gear," I said, keeping my voice steady. "If they fail, it's serious. But the pilots know what to do." Her eyes widened. "How do you know that?" I met her gaze. "Because I trained for this, Em. I've been in worse." She stared like she was seeing me for the first time. The plane shuddered again, lights blinking. Passengers were in full panic now, some sobbing, others frozen. Mom turned back, her face pale. "Sarah, Emily, you okay?" Dad called. I nodded, but my heart raced. I stood, ignoring Emily's hissed, "What are you doing?" and headed to the galley. Lisa met me. "Captain wants you up front," she said, eyes wide. As I moved toward the cockpit, passengers watched, hope flickering in their fear. Emily's voice followed. "Sarah, you're not a hero. Sit down." Her words stung, but they also fueled me. This was it. The moment her betrayal would face the truth. In the cockpit, Captain Tom was sweating, hands tight on the controls. "Dual hydraulic failure," he said. "We're on manual now." I slid into the co-pilot's seat. I've flown with worse in jets. "Let's stabilize." The instruments glowed red, alarms beeping softly. My training kicked in, calm under pressure, focus sharp. "Adjust the trim," I told Tom. We worked together, the plane fighting us but holding steady. Outside, Emily must have been reeling, her world flipping as her useless sister took charge. The breaking point wasn't just the plane's struggle, it was personal. Her mockery had pushed me here to prove her wrong in the most dramatic way. The suspense was crushing. Could we land safely? Would my skills hold up? The betrayal burned, but it was turning into something else. Determination. The truth was coming, and it would hit like a thunderbolt. With the cockpit battle raging, my mind shifted from surviving to proving a point, not with anger, but with action that would silence Emily's doubts forever. This part of the story is where the plan forms, a quiet strategy to turn betrayal into a moment of undeniable truth. The suspense is thick, the stakes higher than ever, as the plane hurtles toward danger and Sarah's resolve hardens. You'll feel the tension, the focus, the spark of justice. In the cockpit, wind roared outside, the plane shaking like it was alive and angry. "Altitude 20,000 and dropping," Tom said, voice tight. "Runway's 50 miles out." The controls were heavy, fighting every move. I remembered a trick from my fighter days, feathering the props to ease drag. "Try this," I said, guiding him. It worked, just barely, giving us time. My mind raced, not just about landing, but about Emily. Her words echoed, "You're no hero." Oh, I'd show her. My plan wasn't mean, it was simple. Save the plane. Save everyone. Let the truth do the talking. Back in the cabin, Emily was probably gripping her seat, fear eating her alive. Good. Let her feel it. I flashed back to training. Nights in simulators, instructors shouting, "Fix it, Sarah!" I'd handled emergencies like this before, but never with 300 lives on the line. And never with my sister's betrayal pushing me forward. I glanced at Tom. "We need to prep for manual landing." "Gear might stick," he nodded, trusting me. That trust, it was everything Emily never gave me. My plan was clear. Get us down, walk out, let her see who I really was. The cabin must have been chaos, people praying, kids crying. I pictured Mom and Dad, worried but safe. Emily's face, though, that's what drove me. Her shock when we landed would be my justice. The runway was closer now, lights blinking through the clouds. Suspense gripped us. Would the gear hold? Would we skid? My heart pounded, but my hands were steady. The shadows of doubt, Emily's mine, were fading. The truth was coming, and it would light up everything. Stay with me. The climax is near. As the plan took hold, the descent became my battleground, not just to save the plane, but to turn Emily's betrayal into a moment of pure, undeniable courage. This chapter is all about the heart-pounding drop, where suspense peaks and Sarah's skills shine. You'll feel the rush, the fear, the fire of proving everyone wrong. The truth is closing in, and it's going to hit hard. The plane bucked wildly, controls heavy as stone. Altitude 10,000, Tom called. Runway in sight. I gripped the yoke, muscles burning. Gear down, I said, but the levers jammed. Hydraulic failure was total now. Manual was our only shot. Outside, the ground rushed closer, a patchwork of fields and lights. In my mind, I saw Emily's face, her smirk when she mocked me. Not anymore. Ease the flaps, I told Tom, using every trick I knew. The plane steadied, but it was a fight. Passengers were braced, heads down, the cabin a mix of whimpers and silence. I pictured Mom clutching Dad's hand, Emily frozen in fear. My revenge wasn't cruel. It was this. Landing safely, walking out, letting her see the sister she underestimated. My fighter training screamed in my head. Stay calm, focus, execute. Radio crackled. Flight 482, you're cleared for emergency landing. Fire crews ready. My heart thumped, but I was ready. The runway loomed, a thin strip of hope. Brace for impact, Tom shouted to the cabin. I adjusted the yoke, fighting wind shear. The wheels touched, screeching, sparks flying. We skidded, then slowed. Safe. Cheers erupted, loud and raw. My chest heaved, relief flooding in. The truth was out, and it was louder than any of Emily's words. The plane screeched to a stop, tires smoking on the runway, and for a split second, the world went quiet. My heart pounded like a drum in my chest, my hands still tingling from gripping the yoke. We'd made it. Against all odds, we'd landed safely. But the real climax wasn't just the touchdown. It was the moment when Emily's betrayal, all her mocking words and smug looks, shattered like glass under the weight of what I'd just done. This is the heart of my story, where the suspense that had been building for hours finally exploded into a truth so bright it left everyone stunned. You're going to feel the raw emotion, the shock, the triumph as I stepped out of that cockpit and faced a sister who doubted me her whole life. Let's dive into that moment, where everything changed in the blink of an eye. As the cabin doors popped open and the emergency slides unfurled, chaos turned to relief. Passengers stumbled out, some crying, others laughing through tears, their voices mixing into a wild chorus of gratitude. I took a deep breath, my legs shaky but my resolve solid as steel. Captain Tom clapped my shoulder. You're a lifesaver, Sarah, he said, his voice rough with emotion. Couldn't have done it without you. I nodded, too overwhelmed to speak. My mind was still racing, images of the descent flashing like a movie reel, the jammed controls, the runway rushing up, the sheer willpower it took to keep 300 lives safe. But now, out here on the tarmac, the real test was coming. I stepped out of the cockpit into the cabin, where passengers were still grabbing their bags, hugging each other, some praying on their knees. The air smelled of jet fuel and fear, but also hope. As I walked down the aisle, heads turned. A woman grabbed my hand, tears in her eyes. Thank you, she whispered. An older man nodded, his face full of respect. Then, through the crowd, I saw her, Emily. She stood frozen near our seats, her perfect makeup smudged, her eyes wide with something I'd never seen before. Shock, mixed with shame. Her mouth opened, but no words came out. For the first time in years, my sister was speechless. Sarah. She finally managed, her voice barely a whisper. You saved us? It wasn't just a question. It was a realization, like a wall crumbling inside her. I didn't answer right away. I didn't need to. The truth was screaming louder than any comeback I could have thrown at her. All those times she'd called me a pretend pilot, laughed at my Air Force days, or rolled her eyes at my job. Those moments melted away in the face of what just happened. I'd proven her wrong, not with words, but with actions that saved everyone on board. Mom and Dad pushed through the crowd, their faces pale but lit with pride. Mom threw her arms around me, sobbing. Oh, Sarah, my baby, you're a hero. Dad, usually so quiet, pulled me into a hug so tight I could barely breathe. We're so proud, he said, his voice cracking. I hugged them back, my throat tight. But my eyes kept drifting to Emily. She stood there, clutching her bag, looking smaller than I'd ever seen her. Mark, her husband, stood beside her, his jaw dropped. "Sarah, that was incredible," he said, shaking his head. "I had no idea you could do that." The applause started then, soft at first, then growing until the whole cabin echoed with it. Passengers clapped, cheered, some even whistled. A little girl tugged at my sleeve, her eyes wide. "Are you a superhero?" she asked. I smiled, kneeling down. "Just a pilot who loves her job," I said. But inside, I felt the weight of it all. Years of Emily's doubts, her jabs, her need to keep me small. And now? The truth had exploded like a flare in the dark, lighting up everything. Emily stepped closer, her hands trembling. "Sarah, I'm so sorry," she said, tears spilling down her cheeks. "I didn't know. I didn't believe you could—" Her voice broke, and she looked away, ashamed. I could have rubbed it in, could have said, "Told you so." But I didn't. The victory wasn't in gloating. It was in her silence, in the way her world had shifted. The betrayal that had burned in me for hours, for years, was fading, replaced by something bigger. Justice, raw and real. Outside, the tarmac was alive with flashing lights, fire trucks, ambulances, police cars. The media was already there, cameras pointed our way. Passengers spilled out, some hugging the ground, others calling loved ones. But for me, the real story was right here, in the space between me and Emily. The suspense of the flight was over, but the emotional climax was still ringing. What would happen next? Would we heal? Or would her betrayal linger? The truth had won this round, but the aftermath was just beginning. Hold on, because the story's not over yet. It's about to get deeper. The plane was safe, the runway still, but the air buzzed with something new, a quiet that spoke louder than any argument ever could. Emily's betrayal, all her mocking words, had been crushed by the truth of what I'd done. This part of the story dives into the aftermath, where the chaos of the landing gives way to a heavy silence, a space where wounds start to heal and the family faces what happened. You'll feel the relief, the shift, the raw emotion as Sarah's strength reshapes everything and Emily's regret becomes clear. Let's step into that moment, where silence said it all. The tarmac was a whirlwind of activity, red and blue lights flashing, paramedics checking passengers, reporters shouting questions from behind a barrier. The air was thick with the smell of burnt rubber and jet fuel, mixed with the cool night breeze. Passengers sat on the grass, some wrapped in blankets, others hugging their families, their voices a mix of laughter and sobs. I stood with Mom and Dad, their arms still around me, their warmth grounding me after the storm. But my eyes kept finding Emily, standing a few feet away, her face pale, her hands clutching her phone like it could anchor her. "Sarah," she said softly, stepping closer. Her voice was shaky, nothing like the confident tone she'd used to mock me hours ago. I was so wrong about you." Tears welled up, spilling over as she looked down. "I didn't think you could. I mean, I never believed you were—" She stopped, swallowing hard. Her silence was deafening, the kind that carries more weight than words. For years, she'd filled every moment with jabs, with laughter that cut me down. Now she had nothing. And that silence? It was my justice. I could have snapped back, could have listed every time she'd hurt me, every "you're not good enough," every eye roll at my dreams. But standing there, with the plane behind us and 300 people safe because of me, I didn't need to. The truth had done the talking. "It's okay, Em," I said, my voice steady but soft. "I just wanted you to see who I am." Her eyes met mine, and for the first time I saw something new, respect, maybe even awe. It was like a wall had crumbled, letting light through. Mom pulled us both into a hug, her tears soaking my shoulder. "My girls," she whispered. "I'm so glad you're safe." Dad, always the quiet one, just nodded, his eyes shining. Mark stepped up, shaking his head. "Sarah, you're incredible. I mean, wow. You saved us all." His words were genuine, and I saw Emily flinch slightly, like his praise for me stung her. But she didn't argue, didn't try to steal the moment. That was new. The crowd around us was still buzzing. A reporter pushed forward, microphone out. "Miss, are you the pilot who helped land the plane?" she asked. I shook my head. "Just a passenger who knew what to do," I said. But the passengers weren't having it. "She's a hero!" An older man shouted, and others joined in, clapping, cheering. A woman I'd seen crying during the descent grabbed my hand. "You gave us our lives back," she said, her voice trembling. It was overwhelming, but it felt right. Emily watched it all, her silence growing heavier. I could tell her mind was racing, replaying every jab every time she'd called me a failure. We moved to a quiet corner of the tarmac, away from the cameras. "I was jealous," she admitted, almost whispering. "You were out there, flying jets, being brave. I had to be perfect to keep up. I didn't know how to handle it." Her confession hit me hard. Jealous? Emily the golden child jealous of me? It was a twist I hadn't seen coming. "I never wanted to compete," I said. "I just wanted to be seen." She nodded, tears falling again. "I see you now, Sarah, I really do." The betrayal that had burned in me for so long was fading, replaced by something fragile but real: hope. The suspense of our fight of the flight was gone. What remained was a chance to rebuild. The media kept buzzing, passengers kept thanking me, but this moment between me and Emily was the real aftermath. The silence had spoken, and it was louder than her mockery ever was. But could we really move forward? Let's find out. With the chaos of the landing behind us, we stood on the runway, the night air cool and the stars peeking through. The betrayal that had torn Emily and me apart was starting to heal, like a wound slowly closing. This part of the story is about that healing, facing the hurt, talking it out, and finding a way to be sisters again. You'll feel the warmth, the hope, the quiet strength as we mend what was broken. The suspense has faded, but the emotions run deep, pulling you into a moment of truth and connection. We were moved to an airport lounge to wait for a new flight, the hum of voices and clinking coffee cups filling the space. Passengers were still shaken, some calling home, others staring into space. Mom and Dad sat nearby, sipping tea, their faces softer now. Emily and I found a quiet corner, away from the crowd. She looked at me, her eyes red from crying. "Sarah, I don't even know where to start," she said, her voice small. "I was awful to you. Not just today, but always." I leaned back in my chair, the weight of her words sinking in. Part of me wanted to stay angry, to hold on to the hurt from years of her jabs. But another part, the part that had just fought to save a plane full of people, knew we could do better. Why did you do it?" I asked, keeping my tone gentle. "Why always put me down?" She looked away, twisting her wedding ring. "I was scared," she said finally. "You were out there flying jets, being this fearless person. I had to be perfect. Perfect job, perfect life, to feel like I mattered. When you joined the Air Force, I thought you'd outshine me." Her words hit like a shockwave. Emily jealous of me? The sister who had everything, friends, success, love, felt threatened by me? I shook my head, almost laughing. I was never trying to beat you. I just wanted to fly. And maybe for you to be proud of me." Her eyes filled with tears again. "I was proud," she whispered, "but I didn't know how to show it. So I pushed you away instead." The lounge was quiet now, the buzz of the crowd fading. I thought back to our childhood, her leading, me following, always a step behind. The time she won the school talent show, and I clapped louder than anyone. The time I crashed my bike and she laughed while helping me up. We were sisters, tangled in love and rivalry. "I'm sorry too," I said. "I could have tried harder to talk to you, to understand." She reached for my hand, squeezing it. "Can we start over?" she asked. I nodded, a lump in my throat. Mom and Dad joined us, sensing the shift. "You girls okay?" Mom asked, her voice soft. Dad just smiled, his hand on my shoulder. "We're getting there," I said. We talked more, about the flight, about the past. Emily admitted she'd felt trapped by the perfect label, always afraid of slipping. I told her about my Air Force days, the fear, the thrill, the pride of serving. For the first time, she listened, really listened. The healing wasn't instant. Years of hurt don't vanish in one talk. But it was a start. The betrayal that had sparked this whole drama, her mockery on the plane, had led us here, to a place of truth. The lounge lights glowed softly, the world outside dark but calm. Passengers glanced at me, some whispering thanks. But the real victory was this moment. Sisters finding each other again. The suspense was gone, replaced by hope. Could we keep this new bond? The answer was waiting, and it felt like a new beginning. As we boarded a new plane the next day, the sky stretched wide and blue, like a promise of something better. I looked out the window, reflecting on everything, the betrayal, the fear, the triumph. This final chapter is about the lessons we learned, the truths that rose from the ashes of that terrifying flight. You'll feel the inspiration, the closure, as I wrap up this story with a message that hits home. It's not just about me and Emily. It's about the strength we all carry and the surprises life holds. Let's soar into that moral sky together. Sitting in my new seat, far from Emily this time, I let my mind wander. That flight had been a crucible, burning away years of misunderstanding. Emily's betrayal, her cruel words, her laughter at my dreams had hurt more than I could say. But it also pushed me to show who I was. Up there, in the chaos of a failing plane, I'd found my strength. And in doing so, I'd shown Emily, our family, and even myself what I was made of. The truth wasn't just that I could fly. It was that I could rise above doubt, even from someone I loved. What did I learn? Betrayal stings, but it doesn't define you. Emily's words could have broken me, but instead they lit a fire. I could have stayed angry, let her jabs keep us apart. But anger doesn't heal. Action does. By stepping into that cockpit, I didn't just save a plane. I saved our relationship. The moral here is simple but big. Everyone has a hidden strength, a spark others might not see. For me, it was my pilot skills, honed through years of sweat and fear. For you, it could be anything. Kindness, grit, a talent you've buried. Don't let anyone's doubt dim that spark. I thought about Emily, now sitting with Mark, her face softer than before. She'd learned something too. Judging someone by their surface is a mistake. She saw me as the clumsy kid sister, not the woman who'd flown jets through storms. Her jealousy had blinded her, but the truth opened her eyes. We all do this sometimes, judge too fast, assume we know someone's story. This flight taught us to look deeper, to see the hero in someone we've overlooked. As the new plane took off, smooth and steady, I felt lighter. Mom and Dad chatted happily, their worry gone. Emily caught my eye and smiled, a real smile, not the smirky one from before. The sky outside was clear, a canvas of possibility. Life's like that sky, full of storms, but also moments of calm where you see clearly. The lesson? Don't underestimate anyone, especially yourself. Betrayal can hurt, but it can also lead to truth. And truth? It's the most powerful thing of all. So next time you're quick to doubt someone or yourself, look up. The sky's full of surprises, and so are the people around you. This flight changed me, changed Emily, changed us all. It wasn't just about landing a plane. It was about landing on solid ground as a family. And that's a story worth telling.